Hello folks, and welcome to the second screencast regarding self-confidence. Remember we discussed self-efficacy last time out, and today we're just going to look at Vealey's model of self-confidence. So if you remember last time out, we were talking about Bandura's theory of self-efficacy and how to raise sports self-confidence. This guy Vealey, he suggested that sports confidence, or confidence when you're developing skills in sport, could be raised by a different model and different theory. And this is what we're going to look at today. Vealey suggested that two factors are really important with regards to developing sports skills, developing sports performance through your confidence levels, and one of these things is your trait sports confidence. The second aspect that's very important is your state sports confidence, and we're going to go through what each of these things mean because you will need to identify them for your forthcoming exam. So trait sports confidence is about exactly what it says on the tin really. It's your traits. It's very similar to trait theory in the fact that it's very innate, it's very natural, it's something that's already inbuilt into you. So your confidence in a sports situation is dependent on your own traits, essentially. Therefore it's very stable, and this whole idea of Vealey's trait sports confidence, as it says there, it relates to a general belief about their ability to succeed across all sports. Essentially, in a nutshell, that means that trait sports confidence is how you feel going into any activity built on previous experiences of doing all different types of sports. So it's a general confidence about sports as a whole, not individual specific situations. So for example, it could be that I've played basketball, tennis, I've done some swimming, I've done some kayaking, and if you put me in a new sports situation, my trait sports confidence would be quite good because I've got quite a broad range of sports in my personal history that I've played, and that's what it refers to. Now state sports confidence is a little bit different. This is the opposite of trait sports confidence in a way, and it can be changed quite quickly. It can be developed through learning new skills and how successful you are in those skills. And in a nutshell, again, as it says there, it relates to a general belief about your own ability to succeed in one particular sport or one particular skill at that moment in time. Now what that means is, if you were put in a sporting skill situation such as snooker, and you've never played snooker before, it's how confident you would be in that moment in time and doing that particular skill. For example, I might be asked to pot a black ball into a pocket. It's that moment in time when you're going to pot the black ball with that particular skill, how confident do you feel at that present time? Okay, so trait sports confidence about general sporting confidence. State sports confidence, very specific. It's that minute you are attempting the skill. Now, what will happen in your exams is you will get the Vealey's model put in front of you if you get this question. And what you will need to identify are the different factors within the model, and usually it's a sort of 6-mark question. They may ask how confidence can improve or decrease through Vealey's sports confidence model. And this is how it works. I'll break it down for you. So at the top you have what's called the objective sports situation, and what that means is this is the moment that you are going to do the skill. So what skill is it that it's asking you to do? What is the situation you are in? What is the objective? What do you need to do? So for example, let's use a golfing situation. So we'll say, here we are, you are now on the golfing green, and you'll have to put a ball into the hole, so a golf putt. And depending on two factors will depend how confident you feel in completing that skill of golf putting. And the first factor is what we call competitive orientation. That's how competitive you feel about doing that particular activity. Do you feel like an urge to succeed if you're playing against others? Or do you not feel that competitive about it? You're not really fussed whether you putt it or not. So it's a competitive orientation. The other thing that affects how confident you will be going into that golf putt is, as we previously discussed a minute ago, your trade sports confidence. So how much general sporting skill do you have already? Have you, if you've played golf before, that's probably give you a bit more trade sports confidence, but in terms of if you played lots of different sports in your previous history, it will give you a good base and a good amount of confidence going into this particular skill. However, if you haven't played lots of different sports before, it might mean your trade sports confidence is quite low because you simply haven't been in many sort of sporting situations before. Now, both trade sports confidence and competitive orientation add up to create your state sports confidence. So remember, state sports confidence is how you feel at that given moment in time when you have to perform the skill. So for example, here I am on the golf green. You have given me a putter to putt into a hole from 10 foot. My previous experience says I've played lots of different sports, but I haven't played golf, so my sports confidence will be fairly high in general sports. The competition orientation will be quite high because we're playing in a round of 3 people, so it's quite a competitive atmosphere, and I feel quite competitive in fact that I want to do this activity. That means my state sports confidence will be quite high, because at this given moment in time I've got good previous sports experience and I feel the drive to do the particular skill because it's my competitive orientation. So what happens next is I will then perform the skill of the golf putt, and then you get what's called a subjective outcome. Now that means either somebody else watching you could tell you about your performance, and it could be the coach says, well actually that wasn't a very good putt, or that was a very good putt. Or you get yourself, so intrinsically thinking about what the outcome was. It wasn't very good, it didn't feel very good, or yeah, that felt great. And depending on what you feel about your outcome, whether it was a good performance or a negative performance, will then affect the cycle again. So the cycle repeats itself. And what I mean by that is, for example, if we putted the golf ball in our performance, it would mean the subjective outcome would be, okay, the golf putt was great, it was a good performance. That means my competitive orientation will increase because I'm more likely to do it again because I was successful at it and I've got a bit more drive to do it. And my trade sports confidence will increase because now I have experience of successfully putting a golf ball. And that leads to an increase in state sports confidence because those two things, trade sports confidence and competitive orientation, have increased, which means my performance will probably get better. Hopefully I'll re-putt the ball again and the confidence will increase and competitive orientation will increase. So it becomes a loop of confidence increasing. However, if in your performance of putting a golf ball, the subjective outcome is that you miss the putt, or the performance that you provide is poor, that means your competitive orientation will decrease because you weren't very successful. It might put you off completing that skill again in terms of competitiveness. So therefore your competitive orientation will go down, and also your trade sports confidence will decrease. That's because you've now completed your golf putt, but you missed it. So actually you don't feel very confident in the general field of playing golf, and that will lower your trade sports confidence. Now what that means ultimately is then, because your trade sports confidence is low and your competitive orientation has decreased, your state sports confidence will then decrease. You'll feel less confident going into the next putt, and that means your performance could become worse. It might not, but it could. At any time, depending on whether your performance is positive or negative, your state sports confidence can increase due to this model. So it's a constant loop. It can either increase or decrease throughout these fields. Okay, it's quite a complicated model, but really go over what I've just said quite a few times and make notes and bring them to class, and we'll put this into practice.